To be honest, I was rung up by George Chignall, the producer, who had been rung up by Helen Parker at Universal. And it was Helen who had the foresight to actually read the book, Ed's book, Lucky, and thought this would make an amazing film. So I was actually wasn't involved in huge, long development. I did a bit, but then I went and met Ed and Lois and really felt that we were aligned sort of values-wise and everything, and realised it was a good fit, because originally I thought, I'm not a rugby player, I'm not a mountain climber, and it's possibly not my bag. But very quickly, it was obvious it was a mental health story. It was a story about human resilience and all sorts of things. So yeah, I said yes, he said yes, and off we went. It was very particular things. So like I said, the physical aspects of it were not really my bag necessarily, but getting out into nature, understanding that the natural world is the most enormous healer for all of us. It was something I felt, very strongly about. And also just, there's so much trauma out in the world at the moment, and there's so much anxiety and so many mental health issues. And just having someone so positive who had gone through, an extreme tragedy and had turned it round into the most positive outcome was a real opportunity just to show other people what is possible. Because it is a lot of what Ed does is a mental, state. And, I think I'm pretty good at all the kind of mindfulness, and I do a lot of meditation and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, when I met Ed and sort of spent time with him, I was like, okay, this is another level. And he has this unique ability to kind of change the negative into the positive. And that in itself is extremely healing. So all of that was what drew me to the story, really. So the biggest challenge was honestly, I didn't realise how long the film would take. And, films they're not straightforward things, They interact with so many aspects of life. There were lots of people involved, and we were just post-COVID. And there was so much fallout from COVID. So we had a lot of issues in post-production around finding the right team to kind of, take it from beginning to end. People were having a lot of personal issues. So it was like art mirroring the film, mirroring art, So there were a lot of mental health stories around us even making the film, it's always interesting, when those two things run in parallel. So I'd say that getting the editing sorted was probably the biggest challenge. But in the end, it worked out beautifully. I hope we've ended up with a great outcome. And the biggest good surprise? Well, at the end of the film, I had to get myself up a mountain in order to actually film Ed going up a mountain. And I was terrified because, this is not your average mountain fare. And I was like putting rocks in my rucksack and walking up the downs at the back of my house with my husband laughing at me. But I went on this trek with a team of people, and Ed was behind me all the time going, come on, Polly, you can do it. So that was, an ironic situation. But anyway, I got to just beneath the sort of base of where he climbs all the way to the summit. And for me, that was a major achievement. So that trip was a really beautiful, it was a beautiful experience, as well as filming, a sort of personal experience. And the whole team really felt that they were in this sort of state of grace. I can't really describe it any other way. We had amazing weather. The rain kind of stopped just at the right moment. All the equipment worked. The shots were extraordinary. And everyone just felt like we had experienced something really beautiful. So that was probably the best moment. Yeah, I think both Ed and Lois and I and everyone involved really do believe that what he's saying does have importance right now, and that if somehow we can accept that a lot of our suffering is a choice sometimes, even though that's quite a controversial thing to say, and that you can choose to let it go, and you can choose to kind of step out of the place where you are and reach out to. There's so many communities of people out there, people that are going out into the natural world, you know, and just take one step towards the light, and things start to get better. So that's probably what I hope people take away from it. Honestly, I love Edinburgh, and I'm not just saying this because you've always been really kind to me. I shot a film here when I worked with Elton John and David Furnish and Rocket Pictures. We made a film called Women Talking Dirty way back in like 1999. And I shot some other stuff here as well. And I've had a short film at the festival, and 8 years ago I had Let Me Go, which was a film I made at the festival. So I'm actually very fond of Edinburgh and very grateful to them for acknowledging the films I make.